Students, welcome to Macroeconomics. Thank you for joining my class. We're going to get started with Chapter 1, which is what is economics about? In this class, we're going to cover economic principles, theory, economic models, along with mathematical calculations. You are required to have Macroeconomics textbook, which is Macroeconomics by Roger Arnold, 13th edition. In the course, we're also going to select a country for a research project report anywhere in the world. For example, the Bahamas, Paris, France, Italy, Colombia, Tokyo, Japan, or any other country in the world. You're going to analyze the economic activity and economic conditions of the country. Please make sure to select the country at your own time and pace. Now, what is economics? Economics is a social science that studies economic situations. And at the very basic level, it studies the allocation, distribution, and consumption of scarce resources. And it also analyzes what products are produced, who gets to produce the goods, what are the factors affecting the production of goods and services in the market, as markets can be somewhat complicated. Now, it also studies the condition that people often have unlimited wants, but have limited resources to satisfy those wants. And resources can be broken down into two categories: financial resources, which is cash, earnings, or some form of financial capital, and also economic resources, physical ability, land, labor, capital, plant, and equipment, or other economic tangible resources. Now, in economic, we tend to use economic models to analyze economic activity. So in economics, we use economic models to simplify the complexities of reality and explain economic situations in a simple manner. And economic models help formulate policy making and allow us to create forecasting analysis, some form of analytical framework of an economy. And we do this by using a ceteris paribus assumption, which is a Latin term for that means everything else constant or nothing else changes during the analysis or economic modeling situation, so that we can analyze certain factors or variables one at a time. And in this 2020 to 2029, our lives have changed a lot, specifically now with the crisis. So to answer a lot of life questions, it has to do a lot with economics in terms of society, economic conditions, and so on, such as what will you do for your job. It has to do a lot with the state of the economy when you graduate or when you enter the labor market. Often cases, the economy can recover quickly from a crisis or take a lot of time for it to recover. We're going into a severe crisis due to the COVID-19 issue in 2020. Students graduated into a critical state of the economy, and the job market has changed. Academic classes have changed to online as well. So we're adjusting for the next couple months, or in some cases for several years. Now, macroeconomics, it analyzes human behavior and the choices that we make as they relate to the aggregate markets or the entire market economy of any given country. We analyze the collective behavior of the economy, such as the unemployment rates, inflation levels, which is the general increase in prices over a period of time, economic growth, economic recessions, and other economic aggregate behaviors of a country or of a particular part of the world. Microeconomics is the branch of economics that deals with individual human behavior and choices. It's a little bit more towards the local level and local state. Macro is the big picture or the big economic analysis of everything. Micro is very specific. It analyzes individual households, a firm, an industry, or a single market or consumer behavior at the local level. So a little bit different. Now, economic categories start to differentiate how we analyze the economy. So most people may wonder, how does the economy work? Well, there's a lot of different things that affect the economy. We have capital goods market, we have the goods and services market, we have households, we have government, we have the firms, the entrepreneurs, and so on, and the academic sector, all of us being members of society. And sometimes we have cases where the unemployment rate is relatively high, and sometimes it's very low. Usually, during cases of economic crisis, like the one that we experienced recently in terms of the COVID-19, it creates a lot of businesses to lay off people and the unemployment rate increases, typically during economic downturns. In other cases, inflation may be a factor. It may destabilize the currency. And what causes inflation? Those are questions that often people ask themselves. What causes prices to increase significantly? Prices are a lot more expensive or a lot higher now than they were in the 2000s, in the early 2000s. So you can always refer to the BLS, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, to see the historical trend in certain prices and employment levels. Now, we have a branch of economics, which is referred to as positive economics, that analyzes factual data and studies factual data to make economic prescriptions or economic analysis. A positive economics is very analytical, it's analysis driven, it's very factual, and it uses historical trends. It analyzes how things really are in the economy through verified information and also factual data. Normative economics, on the other hand, is more towards the ideal state of the economy. It analyzes an economy or society as how things should be, based on value judgments or opinions rather than actual data. However, both of them are complementary of each other. We need normative economics and positive economics working together. How things should be are often driven by some form of facts in order to provide an accurate solution. Now, if we just use normative economics by itself, it will be a little bit misleading since it's perception and opinion based. We need a combination of both. There's also a big difference between scarcity and shortage of goods. Scarcity is a common thing that we see in economics and in economic sectors of countries. It's the condition in which our wants may be greater than the limited resources available in society, or by nature some resources are scarce. They're limited. We don't have enough resources in some situations. There's a big difference between scarcity and shortage of resources. Sometimes shortages could be artificially created, or scarcity may naturally occur in certain situations. Scarcity can lead to rationing of goods when you limit the amount of resources that an individual can have, and scarcity allows us to make choices that are crucial. Scarcity it's present in most situations to some extent. Now, consider Cape Town, South Africa. It was facing a water crisis, a significant water crisis several years back, which is natural resources was depleting, and the citizens had to struggle to have the basic means of subsistence, which is water. And we have the entire water diamond paradox in terms of water is important to life, but sometimes it's undervalued until it's often gone, like it happened in Cape Town, South Africa. Now, we have various factors that are considered crucial factors of production, and those are considered economic resources. Economic resources include land and labor. Land consists of natural resources, mineral, forest, water, and any open land that is available for cultivation and building and infrastructure. Labor is the physical and mental ability of a person. Capital consists of the buildings, factory, machinery, tools, and equipments, along with the entrepreneurship that organize the resources to produce goods and services and seek new business opportunities and develop new ways of doing things, such as Netflix, for example. The entrepreneurs are the innovators, the creators, and those that combine all of the elements, including technology. So very important. Economic resources are different than financial resources. Now, in our economic decision making, we often are faced with opportunity cost in decision making. An opportunity cost is a concept that specifies that decision making often involves trade-offs. In a technical manner, it's sometimes when we make decisions, we have to give up other things in order to pursue a specific decision that we make. And that is referred to as the opportunity cost of decision making. The most highly valued alternative that is forfeited or that is forgone when a decision is made or when a choice is made. For example, what is your opportunity cost of being a full-time student at Mount San Antonio College? Or what are you giving up? There's some things that you probably are foregoing or trading off to be enrolled, academically speaking, full-time. Think about those things when you're attending a specific class. Sometimes opportunity costs are quite substantial. What is it that you are giving up? But sometimes we give up things in order to pursue things that may help us better off in the future, be better off in the future. In this case, pursuing a degree. Now, in some situations, pursuing a degree, for example, it has to do with the incentives that are there. Better salary, higher quality of life, better earning, probability of having a higher paying job, and so on. And economics sometimes it's about incentives. They could be financial incentives or other forms of incentives. It's anything that encourages or motivates a person to undertake an action that will make him or her better off, or any individual better off. Financial, or in this case, in some cases, personal incentive. So it's very crucial to know what incentivizes the person to pursue an activity. And when we make decisions, in economic analysis, our decisions have to be optimal and precise. And we tend to think of benefits and costs in decision making when it comes to economics. So in economics, we think of both the costs and the benefits. It's highly analytical. In this case, very analytical. It's neither one side or the other. So economic decisions tend to maximize the net economic benefits to any person or firm, market, when it comes to benefits and costs. And we use this principle by applying the marginal benefit versus marginal cost analysis concept, or in general, marginal analysis, which include marginal benefit and marginal cost. So what is marginal benefit? Marginal benefit is the additional benefit that is received when consuming or when doing or pursuing an additional activity or an additional unit of a good, or undertaking one more thing of any activity. There's doing something is the additional benefit of pursuing any activity or received from doing an activity. Marginal cost is the additional cost incurred when consuming an additional unit of a good or undertaking one more of an activity. So sometimes we do a little bit more of one thing and we have to pay a little bit more in this case. We get a benefit from doing an activity, but we also have to consider the cost of the activity in engaging in an activity. Marginal benefit versus marginal cost are always working, sometimes in opposite directions. And we have to stop at some point. The marginal benefit is the additional benefit received from an activity, and marginal cost is the additional cost incurred from the activity, and so on. And in effective decision making, or if we make decisions efficiently, we're looking to maximize our net benefits, or our marginal benefit should be greater or equal to our marginal costs. So efficiency exists exclusively when the marginal benefits are greater or equal to the marginal cost of any activity, whether it's consumption or engaging in any activity. So suppose you're studying for an exam, and you're studying for several hours. So for the first hour of studying, the marginal benefits are greater than the cost, which means fatigue, tiredness, or giving up some work time. So studying may provide the highest benefit. And after studying for several hours, your benefit may decline and the cost may begin to rise. Most of the time, please make sure to have higher benefits than cost. So you can continue studying as long as the benefits are greater or equivalent to the cost. If the costs are too great, stop at some point. Now, in maximizing your net benefits, we have the optimal efficiency condition. And that is efficiency is achieved where the benefits are fully exploited in total benefits and in marginal benefits, that are greater or equivalent to the marginal cost. So where the marginal benefit is greater or equal to, I like to say greater because your benefit should always be greater at the margin or equivalent to the cost of any optimal condition or optimal decision making. So you should operate always in optimal levels or in some cases stop if your marginal costs increase substantially. So let's consider education. If we consider our marginal benefit of studying or going to school, our marginal benefit is indicated by the blue downward sloping curve, which indicates the marginal benefit per academic year. So that's the definition part. Marginal benefits, the additional benefits received per additional unit incurred. So in this case, we're considering education. Our first year has a marginal benefit per year equivalent to $270,000 in additional lifetime earnings. An additional second year of schooling provides a marginal benefit, so here at the margin, of $110,000. That's the marginal benefit for that year. And the third year, an additional year, provides additional benefit of $30,000. But if you stay too long in pursuing a particular degree, in this case, if it's a 2-year degree, if you stay longer than 2 years, such as 3, you reach an optimal point at which your costs are beginning to rise at the margin. Tuition is getting expensive. That is pushing your cost per year. You have other implied costs or explicit costs that are also increasing. So that makes your second year more expensive than the first. And the third year may be more expensive than the previous one. So each additional one may be more expensive. So you have to stop at some point. So when marginal benefit is greater than the marginal cost, you have an optimal quantity and an optimal condition, which means here 3 years for a 2-year degree, for example, the traditional 2-year technical degree or 2-year college degree, should extend it in this case to 3. At that point, you have an optimal condition. If you stay longer, your marginal costs may be higher because you're giving up a lot of other things. Consider all the trade-offs that you're giving up. Income from employment, tuition may be expensive, books and so on. Those increase your costs. And your benefit is you might have already taken all of the classes needed to transfer to continue on. So please stop at 3 units in here for a 2-year degree. If it's a 4-year degree, 5-year degree, then it's a little bit different. But you should always, in this case, behave where your marginal benefits are greater than your marginal cost or equivalent where you have an optimal condition. I appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to having a successful semester with everyone. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me anytime or communicate with me on a weekly